Welcome back to Iron Rage, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm here with John Romano, and this is the show where John and I get to vent our frustrations with the world and all the things that annoy us. And when we get done with this show every week, we sleep very contently at night. Now, John, today's topic is going to be websites that have no original content, or YouTube channels can fit into that same category. People, in other words, who just report on what other people are reporting on. And I know it drives you crazy. It drives me crazy too, because, let's face it, this is not bragging or anything like that, but we're probably one of the few websites out there that have so much original content that it's all original content, because most sites out there are just culling information from other websites and using that as what they're reporting on. Why do you think it is that people in this day and age are doing that, number one? And number two, why are people going to these websites where other people are reporting on what people are reporting on,
Well, I think the reason they're doing it is because there's no work involved for them. We do all the legwork, we do all the investigation, put the shows together, get the guests, put everybody up, get the topics, create our original content, and they just come along and copy it. The good news is that the guys that are doing it the best have like 5 people watching on their site. So it's really kind of an exercise in futility. They come here first to get it. Why are you going to come here and then go there? The people come here first. We have the numbers to prove it.
Right.
The other guys that are doing it, their sites have no traffic.
Right. Well,
Huh?
But you know what? Not to interrupt you, but they do some of these sites. Like I've seen a Levrone video of him squatting 500 pounds get stolen and put on a couple other YouTube pages, like if they're reporting on it, like their CBS News, and they're getting a lot of hits on these because it's Kevin Levrone. And look, let's face it, Kevin Levrone putting that on his YouTube channel, he should be monetizing that video and making money on it. Meanwhile, these other parasites are taking it and leeching off of Kevin Levrone's fame, essentially.
Or at the very least, get an interview with him.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't want to interview with these idiots. That's why.
You got that one fat fuck out there that thinks he knows everybody, and has Jim Mannion on speed dial, and he's the guy who thinks everybody's running to his site to see the same thing everybody's watching on somebody else's site. Now, if he had any balls, he'd get Levrone on the phone. He'd tape an interview. But, Levrone's not going to talk to that little parasite. So he's fucked.
Yeah, you know what? But to me, and this is my belief. My belief is just like everything in life, it goes in cycles. I believe, just like the stock market, it could be, when the stock market's up, everyone's buying and everyone's making money. And then when that bubble bursts, the only people who have money left in their bank accounts after that bubble burst are the people who knew what they were doing to begin with. Not the day traders like you and me who got a stock tip from a friend of ours and made a few bucks. We lose all the money invariably because we don't know when to sell, when to stay. But the people who are in it for the long haul, who understand the stock market, never lose money, or they make it right back. Now, I believe this bubble will burst. I call it the YouTube bubble or the social media bubble. And all these people who are basically parasiting information and news stories off of other people because they have nothing original to say or do will disappear. They'll go away, and the legitimate news agencies, and we're talking about the fitness and bodybuilding world, will remain and will become bigger and better, and because they have substance there. They're not depending on other people for substance. Because invariably YouTube is going to get some kind of they already do it for audio, but they'll be able to track video. And if you start copying video off of other sites that have monetized that video, they're gonna just remove your videos. I'm convinced of it in the future. A lot of people don't like to see where YouTube is going. They've changed a lot of their policies. They've made it harder to monetize certain things. But they're trying to make themselves a TV station is what they're doing.
Well, it's like playing the lottery because who knows? No one's figured out the algorithm yet as to what makes a certain person get 400,000 hits.
Yeah.
No one knows that, but it does happen. And if you get that many hits, then YouTube is going to send you a check every month. So these guys get on there thinking, I'm going to start my YouTube channel and I'm going to become famous and I'm going to get all these hits and YouTube's going to pay me 10 grand a month.
Right.
Well, it's possible, but Is it probable? With the examples that we've seen so far, no, it's not.
Well, I think also we have to add that, when I say we're doing original content, I mean that when I go to a show or I even watch a show online, we give opinions that are original. In other words, hey, this is what I think happened. This is the story. I ran into Flex Wheel in the lobby. I ran into Kevin Levrone. And I actually can relay stories because I'm involved with the characters that are in our industry. And then when I see these other guys trying to report, they're not really there. They don't know these people. They might want to think they're friends of these people, but they're really not. So all they can do is anecdotally report on what I've reported on, or you've reported on, or Cito has reported on. And to me, I don't know. I guess it's flattering. It's almost like having a fan site, that the site is just constantly reporting on what you're doing. But it's kind of almost like it's so uncreative that myself, as a creative individual, I would be so bored with it in 10 minutes that I couldn't possibly keep doing what they're doing.
No, it's like copying out of a book. I mean, it's not even relevant. Right. After the fact, it's not relevant. It's like watching the news on TV and then running over to your computer and saying, "Hey, guess what, everybody? The Clippers won." Right. What? We already know that. Yeah. So they're not doing a service to anybody. What they're doing actually is creating a disservice, because people out there are looking for that. They're looking for that secret ingredient. They're looking for that magic bullet. They're looking for, motivation. They're looking for something. So, that's why these people get a hit, and they don't deserve it because they're not proffering anything new. They're not nothing creative, nothing earth-shattering, nothing groundbreaking. They're just repeating what they're seeing, elsewhere. And it absolutely serves zero purpose in the industry, and it actually undercuts the validity of websites for, actually putting original content out there.
Now, I mean, if you look at Rich Piana's website, Rich Piana does original content. He puts up diet advice, he puts up cooking advice, he puts up drug advice. He talks about everything he talks about is original, but everyone seems to try to make videos that basically attack him, discredit him, try to say he's wrong, try to report on him because they want to get that little bit of afterburn from whatever Rich Piana's name carries, and they're trying to ride his coattails essentially, which to me is pretty disgusting, because to try to make fun of a guy and try to put him down and ridicule him, meanwhile the guy's actually putting out original content that people like watching. Now, whether you agree with the content or not doesn't matter, because if you don't agree with it, don't watch his channel. But
I mean, it's like here's the mentality. It's if you were in Vegas and you walked up to Evander Holyfield and punched him in the face. The only reason you're going to get any recognition whatsoever is that Evander Holyfield beat the shit out of you. Right. So you go and you pick on the biggest guy, and that's how you get the recognition. So I'm flat. Look at it this way: you can come all that trouble to come over here and steal our content, put it on your site. Obviously, we're doing something right.
Yeah, well, it's like I said, it's like a fan site. Now, you and I talked about while we were driving in the car before. We should have taped that because it was probably better than this show is, because it was uncensored. But we brought up an interesting point that the first freak show out there who existed before YouTube was around, before social media was around, was Greg Valentino. This was 15 years ago. Greg had 26-inch arms, and he was shooting up with, whatever he was putting in his arms, test propionate, blowing them up out of proportion. I mean, he looked like the original freakazoid of freakazoids. And people made fun of him back then. People thought he was like a joke, but because no one had ever done it before. Remember, he was the first. He was the progenitor, the originator, the first pilot, so to speak. Now, 10, 15 years later, you got guys like Rich Piana, you got all those idiots down in Brazil there who are pumping jet fuel into their arms, and that seems to be the craze now. Freak.
Well, Valentino made it okay. He's the first guy who put a video up of drawing syringes full of pus out of his arm after it blew up. So he's he gets he's jamming all this shit into his arm. who knew what would happen if you did that? The first guy to let us know it's not going to kill you is him. The worst that's going to happen, you're going to get infected and you're going to be pulling syringes of pus out. Here, look, I'll show you. It's all over my video. So that was audacious. That was radical. That was like extreme. Yeah. And people like ate that shit up. Valentino, the guy whose arm exploded, it's on video. He was the first guy to set the parameters of what the good and the bad is going to be in that kind of behavior. And it caught on because how many people now are jamming needles into their arm, on YouTube? I did it on HBO 2020. Valentino did it on his thing. We did it 15 years ago.
Right.
And now it's a decade and a half later, and you got guys, all over YouTube sticking needles in their arms, blowing them up with oil. Got Mr. 5cc blowing his pecs up. I mean, Valentino walked the tightrope. He made that okay.
He was original. He was the original. Talking about original content, he really was the original guy.
He sure was. And all of these guys making money off of YouTube now because they're sticking shit in themselves. Oh, Valentino a vig. It's paying.
Now, speaking of people shooting themselves up, remember the video that Boston Lloyd did? There was another kid in the video with him. They were both taking shots before going to the gym. That one kid just got arrested recently. I don't know if you following the story. They were selling steroids on Instagram. These guys. I mean, how stupid are they?
Fake steroids.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I'll tell you one thing. A DEA friend of mine who I do his diet for, he still is. He's retired, but he still talks to all his friends there, and they said it was the easiest bust of all time because the guy had so much content on the YouTube channels. They tracked everything from YouTube and Instagram. It was like the discovery, for the trial is going to be everything they pulled offline, basically.
Well, yeah, these guys dig their own graves. Like I told you before, the best thing for our world is if it existed at night in the dark, under a cloud. Nobody knows anything. If you guys want to shoot stuff into your arms, do it on your own. Don't broadcast it. Don't post videos of it. You're hurting us. You're drawing unwanted attention our way that we don't need. We don't need the DEAs breathing down everybody's neck, because if you guys just be cool and do this shit under the table, out of sight, without popularizing it and glamorizing it and making it cool for kids, no one's going to give a shit.
Yeah.
But because you're making it glamorous and popularizing it and posting videos of you squeezing shit into your muscle bellies, you're drawing unwanted attention. Not only are you going to get arrested, but you're going to draw heat to the rest of us. Leave all this shit under the table. It's not legal. It's not cool to glamorize it. It's something that all of us want to do in peace and privacy without anybody breathing down our neck. And if you just leave it alone, that'll happen. But as long as you're enticing young kids to go do this, you're screwing everybody.
Right. You're right. You're 100% right. It goes back to the original topic of original content. It seems as though people can't really report on our sport. They can't, do science-based, I guess you could say, videos. They can't do supplement-based videos. They have to do either inject themselves into their pec muscles, or snort drugs, or or copy our original, not just there's a lot of other people putting original content that's very good out there, copying original content. And it seems like the sites that are getting the most hits are the ones that are cannibalizing or doing, like you said, stuff that's casting a bad light on our sport and on what we do. And that's unfortunate. My request to you guys out there, if you're watching and you have your own YouTube channel, try to create original content. Try to come up with ideas of your own. It's okay to report on what other people are doing, but give your own original ideas. And don't think you have to resort to doing super sensationalistic, illegal things, because all these videos that are on YouTube are evidence that the feds can use against you if you're doing something illegal. So don't be a dummy and do stuff that's not legal online. And I hope out there people understand that, all the hours that we spend doing this original content, coming up with this programming, not only from what I do and what John does and what Aceto does, but what from Johnny Styles does behind the scenes with getting the video. There's a lot in the production of what we're doing here. It's not just a one-man show. And, we do this to bring original content to you guys out there so you can be entertained, because that's ultimately what we all want. We want to be entertained, but we also want to be informed, and we want to be educated. So hopefully you guys are enjoying what we do. I'm Dave Palumbo with John Romano for another Iron Rage.